A poignant symbol of Europe's refugee crisis. Mountains of life vests piled high at dumps on the Greek island of Lesvos, used and discarded by thousands of people desperately fleeing Syria's civil war. Here's Global Okanagan reporter Neetu Garcha with a close-up of the life jacket graveyard.
One of the most unforgettable sights from my time on the Greek island of Lesvos was the dump, where there are thousands of life vests piled up. It's often referred to by volunteers on the island as the life jacket graveyard. And not too far away from that is a real graveyard, which is filling up quickly due to the number of refugee and migrant deaths.
Each life jacket represents a person, and thousands and thousands have died, so you don't know if that person has died.
It's a symbol of the refugee crisis in Europe. Large piles of life vests stacked high at this dump on the Greek island of Lesvos.
We've been using them as so refugees can sleep on them at night with some pillows or some padding on the rocks, so when the boats arrive they don't crash into the rock and flip over.
Volunteers on the island and groups from around the world have found uses for the flotation devices.
We've come as part of Rotary International project to take as many of these life jackets and life buoyancy aids from Lesbos to Africa to save the lives of fishermen.
With permission from local government, Rotary plans to take thousands of these life vests to African countries bordering Lake Victoria, where Brewer says thousands of fishermen die every year because they can't afford life jackets. But first, the vests must be tested for safety because some have been found to be fake or tampered with.
Some of them feel like they've got paper in them and materials, and I've slashed a few open to find things that actually, you know, if you were in the water, you actually sink. It would help you sink more.
I'm 5'4", so you can tell in comparison to my height just how high this mountain of life jackets behind me is. And this is just one of many large piles like this here at what the volunteers on Lesvos refer to as the life jacket graveyard. And not far away, in a remote part of the island, a real graveyard, quickly running out of space because of the number of refugees who didn't survive the perilous trip.
A few months ago, there was a situation where there was about 50 or 60 bodies that had been waiting to be buried. So there was no spaces for any more refugee burials.
Mohammed Abdullah is a volunteer helping with proper Islamic burials for the deceased refugees on Lesvos. He describes the difficult task.
When I approached a young child of only 15 years of age about who was the man who I just buried, he said it was his father.
But Abdullah says it's important to respect the beliefs of those who did not survive the journey and their families.
This is the situation of the burials. I mean, they didn't have the family to help bury. They had to rely on volunteers like myself to go and to perform a rite that they could have done back home in Syria.
Meanwhile, the so-called life jacket graveyard continues to grow, serving as a symbol of those who survived the journey and those who did not. The International Organization for Migration reports that in January alone, more than 360 died trying to cross the Mediterranean. Now, long-term volunteers that I spoke to on Lesvos say the refugee death toll is actually much higher because the numbers often only reflect bodies found, while many are still missing at sea. Back to you.